only get better as we head to our spectacular next segment. And here's where we're going to honour some of the women leading the way when it comes to AI and technology, starting with AI as an engine for resilient growth. This sounds absolutely brilliant, so please join me in welcoming the chair of the Global Board of Directors at Deloitte. It's Anna Marks.
Well, good afternoon. And what a great day so far. Such great discussions that we've all been party to. Really inspirational. And actually this morning, and I'm going to go slightly off script here, but this morning I was getting ready to go into the gym and I was plugging my old-fashioned wired headphones into my phone so I could listen to something during my workout, which was ironic given we're talking about technology today. But wearing those headphones, I tuned into the BBC Radio 4 Today programme, which is a morning news and magazine show, and they were talking about this summit. And they were talking about the importance of AI and the impact it can have, good, bad, and indifferent. And that was the tone of that conversation. And it was very apt, because as we know, AI is here with the power to drive huge value for our organizations, our economies, our societies, and our communities. And these conversations that we're having today at this summit are hugely well-timed, because we're at a critical time, in my view. We're at a time of rapid change, tremendous change. And I'm not just talking about the rapid change of technological advancement here. Change more broadly. Let's just reflect on 2024. A significant amount of complexity and change throughout that calendar year, geopolitically, macroeconomically, of course technologically, and the change in our views and demands from our stakeholders and so much more. And we're now over halfway through calendar 2025, and you could argue that we're in a new reality where we need to recognize not just the pace, but the permanence of change. And I use the word change deliberately because for many years we've talked about evolution. And evolution gives you this sense that it's a gradual development. It's modifications over a period of time. But change is more instant. It's about moving from one state to another state. And that better describes the environment in which we're operating right now. We're at this inflection point with all this change and complexity, but with AI at its core as an engine to really drive success more broadly. And if we want to capitalize on that, capitalize on the AI opportunity to drive value for our organizations, for our economies, and our societies, if we want to capitalize on that, we need to recognize that AI is such a powerful engine and will drive resilient growth. But how? How do we do that? How do we drive that value inside our organizations and beyond it? And how do we do that with diligence? Well, let me share some perspectives. When we talk about using AI as an engine for resilient growth, what do we mean by resilience? You know, some would say that's around short-term protection, short-term survival. Others would say that's about creating value and resilient growth in the longer term. And in this context, when it comes to AI, we're really talking about both of those aspects, because it's a tool to drive both resilience and protection in the short term, but also resilient growth in the longer term. And we're really starting to see organizations embrace that, moving from experimentation to deep adoption at scale, moving from technology catch-up to real competitive differentiation, moving from re-engineering to reimagining. And this is where the key is. Re-engineering in the short term is absolutely helpful and important. That's about driving operational efficiency and productivity improvement by re-engineering existing workflows to work differently alongside the human input, working in partnership, as we were hearing about in the previous session. But re-engineering, that's what the long-term resilience growth is all about when it comes to AI. Re-engineering and reimagining our entire business operating models to drive the most powerful impact that we can from AI. And that's about unleashing our capacity for innovation and agility. Reimagining new offerings, new services, reimagining new ways of delivery, reimagining our relationship with our customers, our consumers, our stakeholders, reimagining our ways, the way that we attack and target and address new markets and new opportunities. You know, if you just consider at a very simple level a logistics organization with agentic AI tools on a real-time basis, replanning, remapping driver routes. This is happening now. The old-fashioned way of drivers having many, many ordnance survey maps in their cars, trying to reorganize and revisit their routes on a live basis, that no longer happens. You can do that real time with agents who then instruct the drivers where to go. That creates greater operational efficiency through the driving routes. That's happening now, and it's exciting. It's exciting, and we see that excitement in our clients at Deloitte globally, as clients are asking us to support them. If I just take all over the world, if I just take our global AI simulation center in Bengaluru, where the demand from clients to come into that center and experience simulations as to how they can reimagine their operating models is quite enormous. A few weeks ago, I was with the CEO of an entrepreneurial, digitally enabled business. He set that business up as a digital business right from scratch. And I asked him what advice he would give to organizations already established who don't have the luxury of starting afresh. And his advice was, well, you need to start with a blank sheet of paper and reimagine your operating business, your models, your go-to-market, your aspirations as a technology-enabled, digitally driven organization from the start with a blank sheet of paper. Now, that's easier said than done. But arguably, really what he's saying is don't just re-engineer, but reimagine. And that's how we will unlock the power of AI. And that involves challenging the status quo. That means we need to be bold. It means we need to be innovative. But being bold and being innovative doesn't mean doing it without diligence and care. Diligence about how and where we apply new technology, of course. Diligence about data, its cleanliness, its sovereignty, its security. Diligence about governance and risk. And diligence about trustworthy AI, building the frameworks to enable us to use it ethically and in line with our corporate values and culture. And at Deloitte, we've built our own trustworthy AI framework to enable us and our clients to set those guardrails, to set those guidelines for safe, ethical, trustworthy AI adoption. And if I think about our own organization, my organization, Deloitte globally, as you'd expect, we've built our own AI strategy, transform our business, reimagining our operating model, reimagining the way we deliver our services, and reimagining how we unlock new services, new products, new markets. But as an organization of nearly 460,000 people globally, we know we need to be people-centric in the approach that we take. People are at the heart of our AI trustworthy strategy. And that's really important. AI tools are there to augment and complement our teams. And when I think about our teams, they all have different perspectives in terms of what their hopes and their fears and their expectations are when it comes to AI. Some are really concerned about the changes. Some believe we're not going fast enough. And of course, we've got that aspect of confidence and technical proficiency. When it comes to our people, when it comes to perhaps the next generation, we heard this morning there are people being born right now who will never know a world without AI. When we look at Gen Z and millennials, our global Gen Z and millennials survey will tell us that 4 out of 5 employees who are currently using AI would say they have already experienced the benefits it can bring to their work experience. But worryingly, 2/3 of them are concerned that AI will eliminate their jobs. So we need to embrace AI in a way that empowers and not limits human capabilities. And we think about that in 3 ways, the 3 R's as we call it. Retraining, reskilling, and reimagining. Again, that word reimagining. Retraining is about properly equipping and training our workforce, our teams, so they can leverage the technology in a safe way in accordance with the values and guidelines that are set out. Reskilling, which is about taking discrete aspects of our workforce and absolutely providing deep proficiency skills to cultivate that culture of AI proficiency across the organization. And reimagining is about each of us as leaders building that environment where it's good to challenge our own roles, rethinking our roles, reshaping our workforce structures. Because the opportunities are endless. The implications for the shape of our organizations are fantastic, but we need to have people centricity, people at the core, building AI to not just drive operational efficiency, to drive new ways of working, new products, services, and markets, but to drive and augment human capability. Now, that's also well and good because that's about organizational value, but when we're talking about AI as an engine for resilient growth, we're not just talking about our organizations, we're talking about beyond our organizations, our economies, our communities, and our societies. A healthy, resiliently growing organization will be part of and will help drive a growing and healthy economy, which in turn will fuel a healthy society and our healthy communities. But if we want to ensure that that happens, it would be a rather romantic and simplistic view to expect that that would happen by osmosis, just naturally because those 3 cohorts are inextricably linked. It won't happen unless we act deliberately. And we in this room, we have an opportunity to lead here, to embrace AI, to ensure we get the full potential to change the world for the better. We all hear the concerns that the pace of AI and digital transformation carries with it the risk of exacerbating the societal divides that already exist. You know, let's not forget that 1/3 of the global population does not currently have access to reliable access, I should say, to the internet. 9% do not have access to electricity. So this is a huge challenge, and we need to act together with intention to ensure that no one is left behind, and you've heard that comment a few times today. You know, last year, a joint ITU Deloitte report identified that nearly 400 projects across the UN ecosystem are using AI already to drive progress across a range of critical areas, from education to sustainability to healthcare to accessibility. But as we know, no one organization can unlock the full potential of AI as a force for social resilience on their own. It takes every actor in the ecosystem to come together with real collaboration. That's, of course, businesses across sectors. It's, of course, governments, policymakers, NGOs, not-for-profit sector, social entrepreneurs, and far more. The entire ecosystem needs to act together deliberately, not just cooperating, but really collaborating. Because cooperation means working alongside each other and not getting in each other's way. But collaboration is intentional. It's about building a common vision, a common purpose, and driving and creating the solutions to get to that together. And this is where we all come in this room, because only then can AI genuinely help transform lives, help transform livelihoods. So embracing AI as an engine for resilient growth. It's about driving organizational value, but it's about driving value beyond our own organizations in a people-centric way, in an ethical and trustworthy way, and collaborating together to ensure the impact is broad. But I'm a chair of a board, and we've heard a few times the word governance mentioned today. Governance perhaps in terms of regulation. But in my view, and in most of the chairs that I speak to from organizations all over the world, in our view, corporate boards and organizational boards have a critical role to play also, alongside their executive teams to keep us on track. Any governance board is there to, of course, help protect resilience in the short term, but also to enable success and resilience growth in the longer term. And AI right now is right at the core of that. And when I talk to other chairs, there are a number of themes over some of the things we need to think about, and these would include things like, right now, an entire board needs to work so closely with their executive, now more than ever. And when I say with their executive, I don't just mean the chief technology officer. You know, the potential impact for AI will impact the entire reach of an organization, and therefore the remits of every C-suite member. So boards working with the executive closely to ensure we're asking the right questions. Are we being bold enough and innovative enough? Do we have the right governance and risk? Are we adopting AI knowing the impact of the choices that we're making? But also not just that. It's around having a board and having a governance structure where we're able to have the right skills, having the right discussions at the right time. And we all know, and we talk about AI technology proficiency. Upskilling the C-suite and the board is a really critical part of that, but also having governance structures that allow the right nature of discussions to happen at the right time, in the right depth. And then thirdly, having an environment within any board or governance structure that enables great debate. That's about safety and confidence in the boardroom and in the exec suite. Because there are some difficult choices, some difficult decisions to be made. People will have different views, and there are trade-offs. And therefore, having the environment where we can have these conversations openly is absolutely critical. So boards need to step up, and they are. You know, we ran a survey globally from our global Deloitte board program with over 700 board members. And interestingly enough, it was an improvement on last year, but we still have a third of boards who are still not regularly discussing and debating AI, and that's a bit of a worry. Not just, as I say, for their own organizational success, but for the ongoing success as it permeates out into economies, societies, and communities. So a lot more to do there. So I've covered a lot of ground, right? It's a tremendous opportunity to drive organizational value, which is just as important in the business community as it is in the wider organizational community. And to drive that in a way with people at its core. You heard before, as I said, that partnership between AI and people. To do it in a way that's trustworthy and ethical. And to drive collaboration for broader, resilient growth in our economies, in our societies, in our communities. So perhaps in closing, an ask from me. You know, I was always taught if you don't ask, you don't get. So maybe a call to action. Let's each and every one of us in this room, and I acknowledge I'm probably saying this to those who are already converted, but let's each and every one of us in this room embrace the excitement and the opportunity that AI presents with us, and do it with diligence and with care in a people-centric way, with collaboration and ethics at the core. Because in that way, we will all play our part in driving organisational value, economic health, and health in our societies, which is so important. Let's use this summit to build on our collaborations and to keep this conversation alive and make that our collective mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. Ooh, I'm going to just stand here, actually. It's a nice place to stand. So on resilient growth, which is, I think, a lovely phrase, and I can definitely say with some confidence, when I've grown the most personally, it's always been down to making a conscious effort to learn resilience, and it really does take a lot of effort. It's not easy to change inside and out, but it is well worth the effort. So what we're going to do